What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. Just wanted to talk to you guys about an important aspect of a bug out location, or if you're strategically relocating, something to consider. I'm in one of my favorite areas here in the Pennsylvania wilds. It's one of the most remote parts of the Northeast or the Eastern US, and I'm on this back road here, just doing a little road scouting for the upcoming hunting seasons. And I just had an idea for a video. So what do you notice here? You'll see that there's a lot of mature trees. There's a lot of these big oak trees everywhere. And this got me thinking about bugging out and strategic relocation. Right now it's actually raining, and there's a thunderstorm coming through, but underneath these oak trees you wouldn't even know that it's raining because the canopy is so thick that hardly any rain is coming down to where I'm standing. Like, I can barely feel it. Feels like it's not even drizzling. And there's actually a clearing not too far from here, and in that clearing it's like downpouring. So it got me thinking, you know, if you're selecting a bug out location or if you're strategically relocating, you should try to find an area that has forested hill country. That's the ideal place to be for a prepper, forested hill country. And the reason why is forests provide concealment from any kind of observation, like overhead observation. If we're talking about SHTF and all different types of scenarios, if there's a rogue government and they want to fly over and see where people are located, they want to keep their eye out for preppers and things like that, they're going to send drones. And if you live out in the open, those drones are going to see you, and they're going to see everything you have, everything you're doing. They're going to see your property, everything. But if you're tucked away in some dense forest cover like this, they're not going to be able to see anything. Now, if you're strategically relocating, you may not be able to necessarily have your primary residence in a forested area like this, but at least if you live in a state or in a part of the world where you have access to forested hill country, it's the best case scenario, because also, like I said, the forest will protect you from weather. It'll lower your cooling costs in the summer. If you have a house with trees around, or if you live in the forest, it'll lower your cooling costs in the summer. And trees, they break wind. Forests, they serve as natural windbreaks. That's why in places like South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, those are some of the windiest states in the country, because there's no trees and there's no hills. So when that wind gets going, it's like being out in the ocean. There's nothing to stop it. But places like where there's hills, there's a lot of topography and there's a lot of tree cover. That topography and tree cover functions as a way to slow down wind, and it's a natural windbreak. So that's why, places in the eastern US, they don't get those crazy wind gusts unless it's like a hurricane or something like that. But just something to think about, guys. If you're going to be building a bug out location, if you're going to be investing money in property and you want to build a bug out location in a secluded area, you want an area like this, far away from main roads, and you want a lot of tree cover for concealment and also for protection from the elements, okay? So a lot of preppers overlook that aspect. You don't want to have a house out in the open exposed, and you want to live in a part of the world that has forested hill country. If you can't, let's say, build a bug out location, you don't have the financial resources, or you can't have your primary residence in a very secluded area that's forested, at least if you live in a region of the world where you have a lot of forests and hill country, you have that option to bug out to those forests. And also hills, they function as a natural barrier against refugees from big cities, okay? Topography slows people down. I don't care who you are. I don't care how physically fit you are. I don't care, you know, what kind of vehicle you have, the ultimate off-road vehicle. Topography is going to slow people down and wear people out. And, you know, also topography helps with concealment as well. So, you know, forested hill country is your best bet for bugging out and for strategic relocation. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Just wanted to stress the importance of that. If you're going to be, you know, investing in bug out property, or you're thinking about moving away to a more secure location, that should be one of your top criteria. Is, do I live in an area where there's forests and hills? Okay, that should be one of the top things, okay, that you're thinking about when you're strategically relocating. So, and another thing about forests is they're also rich with wildlife. Forests are just full of wildlife, from small game to big game. So that's another thing that's good about forests. And hills will also help to create water sources in the form of streams and rivers and things like that. And another thing about concealment is we're not just thinking about, you know, rogue governments flying drones over your area, spying on you, but also marauders, people that want to do you harm. If you have a bug out location or a primary residence in a forested area, it's also much more difficult for people to find you. You know, if there's a lot of forests around, you could have somebody that lives just on the other side of a hill from you, and they don't even know where you are because you're tucked away in the forest, you're hidden. I mean, they could literally be just a mile away on the opposite side of the hill, and they won't even see you. They won't know where you're located at, you know, versus open places like, you know, Montana, eastern Montana, Dakotas, places like that. You know, you could see a farm or a homestead from, you know, 5 miles away, 10 miles away, if you have, you know, even just basic binoculars, because everything is wide open, you know. So it's not just overhead, concealing from overhead threats, but also from marauders that are on the ground, patrolling areas, looking for places to raid, you know, opportunists, people that are desperate and hungry. They're going to be scouring the area looking for structures that they can raid to find supplies, or you know, if they're like just a regular, you know, desperate, hungry person, they may not try to cause you harm, but they're going to try to raid your place and get your supplies, get your ammo, get your firearms. But if we're talking about bad people, then yeah, they may try to, you know, commit various crimes against you. And if you're tucked away in the forest, it's going to be a lot harder for them to spot you from a long distance, you know. I mean, just look. You can't see more than, if it wasn't for this road, you wouldn't even see more than 25, 50 yards in any direction here. You know, there could be somebody, you know, a mile in this direction with a bug out location, and I wouldn't even know that that person is there. And I'm just a mile away, maybe even a half a mile away. I wouldn't even know, you know, unless they're making some loud noises or, you know, burning really smelly fires and stuff like that. So that's another reason why forested terrain is important. And also for security purposes, if you have to patrol your perimeter, it's much easier to do it in terrain like this. There's so many places to hide, so many places to conceal yourself. You can take cover behind trees. Bullets don't pass through brush very well, like, you know, all these little trees here. These little branches in the woods, they're going to deflect bullets. So if somebody's shooting at you, it's not going to be, you know, as easy for them to make a good hit on you. So, you know, there's a lot of benefits to forested terrain. I mean, you could write almost a whole book about it, but those are some of the main points as far as concealment goes. That's pretty much it, guys. Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.